Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And I'm Alana.
I'm Kelsey.
And we're here recording for you.
Yeah.
On our Oktoberfest of horrors.
Yeah.
This is episode 32. And it's all about Halloween lore. Oh yeah. I'm just rubbing my hands together in delight. I'm sorry.
As opposed to me, who just looked at the title of her Word document and realized I titled it Halloween. And it had been named that for about a week and a half, and I never noticed before right now.
Who has time to spell out Halloween?
Well, it's like Halloween. I was like, what? So I was looking at it, and I was like, what? Okay. I clicked into this how many times?
You didn't see that red line of death telling you to spell check it? No.
No, because it's the name of the document, right?
Oh,
I don't think they
that's
spell check
so
the name of the
funny.
document. Spell check, let me down.
Not.
I rely on it so much, you don't even understand how many times I have to correct things.
Yeah, my friend showed me that app that like spell checks to all your different apps or whatever. So whether you're on Instagram or like typing, I don't know, an email or whatever, it's what is it, Grammarly, and it's always like it always corrects you. I was like, ooh, handy.
See, I'm bad at that because I spell so bad it always corrects to random words that I don't mean. And I'm always like, nope. So I have like spell check I have like autocorrect deactivated on everything because it always came up with the wrong words.
That's the apps, I think.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I think I'm actually a pretty good speller, but still, it's always like, I'll be like texting my about or to my sister Rasa, and it's like kind of like, did you mean Tessa? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
God damn it! Or just whatever it is. It always thinks it knows better than you.
Yeah. On me, the word version I have is set to American, English, so it's always color, O-U-R. It's always underlining everything that's O-U-R.
Yes. Like, God damn it, that's how I want to spell favorite. That's from English.
Yeah. That's the proper way.
Dude, Canadian problems. Alright, well, today I don't know, was that enough banter? You guys
Sure.
good? Okay.
I'm good.
Oh, sorry, if I had one shout out, I realized we have a lot of listeners in, if I've said this before, stop me, but Virginia.
No.
Virginia seems to be it pulled ahead as our most downloads per state kind of thing. Because for a while I was like, whoa, it's the two V's. It's Vermont. It's Virginia. We are rocking the V states. And then, like, all of a sudden, like, it's just, like, our biggest state, our most listens. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to give a shout out to our Virginia listeners, because I would
Yeah.
assume you're still listening. It seems like it.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's awesome. But yeah, it's always cool to see those things.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to go over with Halloween and Samhain, Samhain, lore, whatever.
Yep.
But the good thing is, I think that, you know, whatever we don't cover this time, we'll cover next year.
Yeah, because there is a lot.
There's so much. But I kept being like, you know what? Yeah, we'll be here next year, so we can kind of get into, like, more of it, which is really fun.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't know if there was going to be enough. I was like, well, what are we going to cover? Because, you know, we have to figure out how we split it up, whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, history, and then it's like, okay, yeah, history, myths, whatever. And then it's like, holy shit. I did
There's a
history, and
lot.
that was a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, my burp. Oh, yeah.
And then I did some monsters and creatures and stuff. And then some of the, like, myths and tales they have.
That sounds like really fun too. I was like, ooh, you've got monsters, myths, and legends. That's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
There was a whole lot of Googling how to pronounce stuff, so get ready for terribleness.
That's okay. I don't think anyone cares that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even know how to. I just kind of dove into it.
Yeah.
Because it started a long fucking time ago. Even before we called it Halloween or Samhain or Samhain, there was pagan religious festivals originating? How do I speak?
Making up new words.
I don't know where I heard this, but we put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely at least originated from ancient Celtic spiritual traditions. And Samhain, it always fell on or around the 31st of October to, November 1st. And sometimes it could last as long as 3 full days. Party.
Yeah. Sounds fun. I mean, if
Yeah.
Halloween actually lasted 3 days, it would be the best holiday ever. But
Oh, petition to have the advertisements and the Halloween decor up longer.
yeah.
It's not long enough. Like, okay, it's like we get the Halloween stuff here in Canada, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you guys have Thanksgiving in the middle of October, and then
Yeah.
then we have to do like a quick like, oh yeah, what? I was prepping for Halloween. Oh yeah, let's cook a turkey.
Yeah. Break
And then
out
back
the
to
fall,
decorating.
the fall decorations. Everything's orange and pumpkins.
My neighbor driving home today, I noticed one of our neighbors on our block had one of those giant blow up Halloween display persons. Like, I don't know what it
Wow.
was, because I was like, if I look at this too long, I'm going to crash into something because I'm almost home. And whatever, but it was like a priest or something. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's like as tall as their fucking house.
Oh my god.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
I'm gonna make sure Rain goes trick-or-treating there if she does. She didn't last year because she's 14 now. You get to that year where you're just too old a little bit, you know?
No, me and my friends, up until, like, including still in high school, we just still dressed up.
I think you can. And granted, last year it was kind of a COVID thing too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were like, no, you're too old all of a sudden. It was like, well, it's COVID and shit. But
Yeah.
you're right. I just think after a while people start to give you the side eye.
We did. I had somebody that said we were too old and then said, sing a song for us. And without skipping a beat, I jumped into, we wish you a Merry Christmas. And they burst out laughing.
Nice.
Because they're like, sing us a song. And I started, like, as soon as they stopped. And then they burst out laughing so hard. They're like, hey, you guys get candy.
They're like, fine. But yeah, they
don't
could
know.
see you weren't like the type to like egg their house. They're like, okay.
No, me and my friends were, like, actually legit dressed up. Like, head to toe, everything.
And ready to perform, apparently.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So this was Samhain, or this festival was a way to celebrate bringing in the harvest and ushering in the dark half of the year.
Boo.
I mean, yeah, because it does suck for like vitamin D
Yeah.
deficiency and stuff.
It just makes me tired all the time.
It gets freaking cold here. Yeah, it's Canada. We do live up to the cliche here in Edmonton. It does get bloody cold in the
Yeah.
winter. um, so yeah, it did mark the beginning of the year in most pagan traditions, which is kind of interesting.
Oh.
And yeah,
I would have
so
said spring would be the beginning of the year.
and so it is closer to spring in some traditions even nowadays. Like I was gonna say the Chinese New Year's is closer to spring than
Yeah.
the traditional Gregorian calendar New Year.
Yeah.
I'm a calendar nerd today. Okay. But it was believed that at this time of the year, the veil between the living and the dead, or the underworld, was thinnest, which I think a lot of people already kind of know from Halloween lore and Halloween movies.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool. It's a cool thought. All right. The ancient Celts marked Samhain as the most important of the four quarterly fire festivals of the year. And the four fire festivals, that's hard to say.
Yeah. FFF.
Also, my page just fell. Okay.
Oh.
Yes, the four fire fests of the Celtic calendar, or it's sometimes called like the Wheel of the Year, is Samhain, October 31st, Imbolc, which is February 1st, Beltane, May 1st, and Lunasa, which was August 1st.
Oh.
So, yeah, I don't know much about those ones, but I do think it's a cool, interesting concept. I love our calendar, don't get me wrong, but it's
Yeah.
kind of boring. It's just 12 months. This is more like the farmers, and you know they were more bringing in the seasons and stuff. It just doesn't seem like some arbitrary date in the calendar that's like this is fall, and you're like it's Canada. There's been snow on the ground for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's not fucking fall.
Thanks for
But
the
in like
update.
California, yeah, they're like, oh, it's still like shorts weather here.
Yeah.
Um, the other ones they're often combined with on the Wheel of the Year are the other solstices and equinoxes, which are non-Celtic in origin. They're Germanic, paganism, or Neolithic sources. Don't question me on that.
Okay.
But these in-between ones that come in between the fire festivals are called the quarter festivals, which again is a little confusing because I just called the other ones quarterly fire festivals.
Yeah.
But but still they're a little bit familiar because the first one would be Yule or midwinter, the 21st of December.
Okay.
I mean, we all kind of know that's the winter solstice. That's like the shortest day of the year. There was a kind of a joke I heard from, no, maybe it was our old supervisor at the office we both worked at there, that was like her birthday was on the 21st of December, and because it's the shortest day of the year, she thought she got kind of screwed out of having a full day of birthday. But it's just because the sun goes down earlier.
Yeah, it's still the same amount of hours. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, shortest day of the year is such a cute, almost little kid thing to think of.
Oh, yeah. It would be.
And then after Yule or midwinter, they have Ostera, which is the 21st of March, and then Litha or Midsummer, which is the 21st of June, and Mabon, which is the 21st of September. So those are the in-between ones.
Okay.
Oh. Burpity burp. Yeah, I don't know. I think we've all heard of Midsummer, at least from the movie.
Yeah.
But that's celebrating like the summer solstice. Yeah, I think the solstices celebrations are pretty cool. But
yeah. Makes me sad that we don't really have one in Canada.
No, even though we're like a melting pot of traditions and cultures.
Yeah. We have thought
We
of
can start
nothing
something.
original ever in our lives. Except,
Well, we have our indigenous people.
yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. It's like it's sad because yeah, it does get overshadowed. And don't get us started on how we crush the indigenous culture here. I mean, that's a
Right.
whole nother thing that we're
Yeah.
not trying to like get into.
Or qualified to get into.
No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. Sorry, if you've come to us for political discourse,
Yeah.
please go away.
Yeah. No.
Unsubscribe. Okay. Um, but the seasonal changes, this one quote, seasonal changes were very important to the agricultural Celts, who depended on the wheel of the year to dictate when to plow, sow, harvest, and rest. The turning of the wheel represents the continuing birth, death, and rebirth of nature. And that was just a quote from the Celtic Journey where I got information on the wheel of the year.
Oh, did you and Pat watch The Green Knight? Did you see that yet?
No, have heard of that one.
Yeah, it's with Dev Patel. It has the wheel like on there, and they use it because he enters like a
Ooh.
competition, and they say that they'll what he has to like land a blow or whatever, and a year from that day, this exact same blow will be like landed upon him. So he decapitates the guy, and then the guy like grabs his head and is like 1 year and then like leaves. So they have like a kind of like a montage for like a minute of like the wheel turning and like what happens to him over this year until the guy comes back to like kind of an eye for an eye.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's like the year of fear. You're fucking terrified.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he obviously knew what he was doing, but no, that's interesting. I want to watch that. And I like Dev Patel. He's awesome.
It was good. I have to say the movie was pretty, but I did not understand it very much.
Okay.
No, I feel like you had to have looked up like the it has like a Arthur like Arthurian story like that
Okay.
it follows, and I feel like the people that knew that story probably enjoyed it a lot more than the people that didn't.
Oh, did it kind of talk about the sword and the stone, or?
No, no, it was like
Okay.
separate
Yeah,
than that.
that would be the only one I would know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, though.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, I think we were talking about it before we started recording, but like, lore and history and shit. It's so fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially when it's all, like, yeah, things end up being interconnected. Ah! Um, oh yeah, so I just don't have much on the wheel of the year because that is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But just a little bit on what should I'm gonna try that again now. I don't have much on the wheel of the year, but just a little bit on what each of the festivals means.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just that Samhain or Samhain, October 31st, the fire festival represents usually the final harvest before the long winter. And it's a time to honor our ancestors and embrace the darker half of the year. Not the more sadistic, just the darker, especially in the northern hemisphere.
Daylight.
It's much darker. Yes,
Yeah.
much less daylight. And this also marks the beginning of the new year in many pagan traditions. And then you have Yule or midwinter or the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And yeah, it usually falls from December 20th to the 23rd, somewhere in there. And what do they think about that? Now on, the days become longer and they celebrate the return of the sun back to the earth. And then the next one is Imbolc or Candlemas, which I think is a cooler name for it.
Yeah.
That's February 2nd. Oh my god, I think on the last page I might have said it was February 1st, but it seems like they're a little bit, not exact on the date, right?
Oh, okay.
I think it's more like it's not calendar date, it's more like, you know, what's happening in the world date, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like the sunset's a different time every day or whatever. But yeah, in bulk or Candlemas, February 2nd was the festival of fire and light, and in many pagan traditions, they celebrate the Celtic hearth goddess Brigid, and it marks the midpoint between winter and spring. Oh, that is like you finally almost made it.
Yeah. Oh,
The snow was gonna melt.
yes. You can see the horizon. Like,
Right?
I don't like winter.
It's it's definitely hard, especially here when it goes on so long.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm over it after the first week of, it's pretty. There's snow and frost. And then it's all scrape your windshield, remote start your car because it's freezing, shovel your walk 6 times a day if it's snowing all day, you know?
Yes. A friend of ours, Ashley, said something like after like Christmas, it's like I'm done with the snow and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. I get
You
it.
got like at least 3 more months.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um yeah, what was I gonna say? Exactly. Like I don't like being cold either.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have Candlemas or the one in between Yule and spring. And then you have Ostera or the spring equinox, which is from March 20th to the 23rd. And it's the celebration of the spring equinox, and it's time to prepare for the beginnings of new life each year. And this is when the hours of day and night are equal and light is starting to overtake darkness.
Yay.
Yay! It's
The
also known
best.
as. Oh, should I try to attempt words I can't pronounce? It's also known as Alban Eler or the light of the earth.
Oh, very nice. The light of the earth. That's so pretty.
That sounds pretty. I know. It's like we get it living up north here.
Yeah, the light of the earth. Thank you.
I get it's weird for me to think of people that live where there's not 4 seasons, as they say, where they just don't get
Yeah.
any of the turning of the leaves falling or anything.
I could live in a place that had no winter, but
Oh, I feel like I could too. We should just have a summer home in like California.
let's do it. Donate to Patreon.
Right. So May 1st, or May Day, is also known as Beltane, and it's a spring celebration that honors the fertility of the earth.
That makes sense.
It totally does. I get this one. I like it. May Day, I think that's also one of those ones where you do see like the maybe Scandinavian girls like wearing the flower crowns and stuff. Not I feel like they've been a little bit besmirched.
Yeah.
That she's wearing one in Midsummer and on the cover of that, and that's been
Yeah.
like such a popular horror movie. But like the flower crowns are beautiful, and I think the Swedish traditions are too.
Traditionals. We're just inventing new words over here. I'm sure I will too.
I'm not sure how much we're gonna get through, but we'll try. No. Okay, so after May Day, you have Litha, I don't know, Midsummer or the summer solstice from June 20th till the 23rd. And it's the longest day of the year and celebration of the light's triumph over darkness and the bountiful beauty that light brings into our lives.
Yeah.
Also known as Alban Heffen, the light of the shore. Sure.
Okay.
If you say so.
Yeah, not of the earth, not the light of the earth, but the light of
Nope.
the shore.
Yeah. And then you have Lamas or Lunasa is apparently how it's pronounced, although it's one of those ones it's spelled like Lugnasha. And you're like, what?
Lug nut.
Gaelic? I don't understand. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a celebration in honor of the Celtic god Lugh? Lugh? I don't know. For others, this festival is observed as Lammas and celebrates the early grain harvest. This is the first harvest festival when plants drop their seeds to ensure future crops. Okay. I mean, cool. We're gonna find out that, like, you know, Halloween is the big harvest, though.
Yeah.
And then you have Mabon, or the autumn equinox, September 20th to the 23rd, which is a time of Thanksgiving that celebrates the second harvest. And the autumn equinox, the days and nights are once again equal, with the night continuing to grow longer. And also known as Alban Elfed, or light of the water.
Oh, okay.
I think it's all pretty interesting, but I had to kind of stop myself so I wouldn't bore anybody that didn't find it, so. Okay, that was all, just from a website about the Wheel of the Year. But for Samhain, or Samhain, or whatever we're calling it, it typically began at dusk on the 31st of October and could go on for up to 3 full days.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be amazing.
One of those outdoor music festivals. Oh, yeah. No.
Sleep in a tent on the
water.
Sleep on a tent in the ground. On the ground. Yeah.
Oh, God. So comfy.
It's brutal. I've been there. It's worth it, though. It's worth it.
It's one of those things you're like, I said I did it.
No, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's
oh
so
my
much
God.
fun.
I guess. Anyway, I was gonna say...
Something about there being like 5 stages at once that you literally just look up the lineup for the day and are like, at this stage at this time, at this stage at this time. And if halfway through one person's set, you're like, this is kind of boring. You can walk like into another section and see a totally different band at the same time. Like, so
That's
cool.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been to one like that, actually.
Yeah,
I've been to like smaller things where it got cold and it was winter and I had to go hide in the car with my friend and try to warm up.
Oh, no. This was in the middle of summer. We went to BC and there was like 5 stages at once. I got to see Drake and like Sam Smith. We saw a bunch of like huge bands.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. There's a big one in BC that I would go to. Shambhala.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you know, old names and rituals and celebrations, Shambhala.
Yeah, that's like
spiritual place.
a rave kind of more style one.
Yes,
Yeah.
true. I think that's the ones that I probably would have ended up going to, like, because Pat played some of those ones. There's an equivalent in the East Coast called Evolve that Pat played.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, fun, but I guess I'm just too old for some of the parts of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. I don't know. Oh, but yeah, this was a fun fact. Samhain, or Samhain, is also the modern Irish word for November. I didn't know that.
For November? Not October?
Apparently, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Probably, we'll maybe get into a little bit more on, or later on. But All Saints Day on the 1st of November does seem to be almost as important as All Hallows Eve. You know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not an expert, but there was so much with the history that, like, I have a bit. We'll get through what we can, and if we have to save some for next year, like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because I have a bit too.
I know. I'm like, okay. But yeah, in Ireland, some say that a place called the Hill of the Ward in County Meath was the unofficial site of the Samhain Fire Festival. And actually recently people have started gathering here more and more to kind of re-celebrate things that have fallen by the wayside, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. And as mentioned, the pagan New Year started around this date, and the ancient Celts also celebrated this as the start of the new year, or at least the start of the dark half of the year. Some think, because they also believed that time began in darkness, which with each 24-hour day commencing at dusk. That is a quote from worldhistory.org. So I thought that was interesting. If you think that a day starts at dusk, then it does make sense to me that you would say that the quote unquote new year might start at like the darkest time of the year when winter's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Winter is coming.
You know nothing.
I know nothing as fuck, as everyone tells me. But in fact, the origins of Samhain predate the arrival of the Celts in Ireland. So it actually started before they got there, and it began roughly 2,500 years ago. So by 43 CE, or Common Era, the Roman Empire had conquered lots of the Celtic land. So over the next 4,000 years of ruling this territory, two festivals of Roman origin melded a bit into the other fire festivals. And they were Feralia, or Feralia, I'm not sure. But this was a late October Roman Day of the Dead. And Pomona, or Pomona Day, quote unquote, that's what I called it, to honor the Roman goddess of fruits and trees. And actually, Pomona's symbol is the apple. So that's interesting, I thought, because it might be from that Roman goddess that all these apple traditions, like apple bobbing in the water, where you try to like put your hands behind your back and just grab the apple in the floating water with your teeth, which is really difficult, actually.
Yeah.
But that might be where it comes from. So that was cool. This was also just a time for harvesting crops, rounding up animals for slaughter or sacrifice, or just to be lodged up for the winter inside. This I've heard of with like pigs that just go out and they let them out in the woods to kind of get all fattened up on all the woods chestnuts and all that stuff. And they take them inside at the winter time because it's cold.
Yeah. The little piggies.
Little piggies.
Or the big fat piggies.
Oh, fuck yes. Those ones too. 700 pounds, whatever. Whoever's not getting slaughtered is going down for the winter to bed. But there was many feasts held with many, many meats and flowing with drinks, and these were dedicated to the harvest as well. This was a sacred time for settling important business matters, inaugurating kings and or monarchs. And it was a good time for debts to be repaid and trials held. It was believed that this was the best time for justice and like accuracy in judgment was the best way I could say it.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool. Just like people thought it was a better time to like have a trial or inaugurate a king. It's just different than what we do now.
During a celebration.
Yeah, or just at a certain time of year or something. They're just like, no, it's just better if we do that now. And then 17th century Irish historian Geoffrey Keating wrote about the traditions of the fires at Samhain. All hearth fires were put out at the start of the fest. Then the ancient Celtic priests, or druids, would light a new communal fire in the center of each like village or town. Oh, excuse me. Then they would toss the bones of the sacrificed animals in to ensure a safe winter for all. So they just toss them all in the middle of this fire.
Okay. Wow.
But it's interesting because now that they toss these bones in, they called it a bonfire. And that's eventually where we get the modern word for bonfire.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, I thought it was so interesting. Sorry, I just got so loud.
I just don't like it ruining bonfire. I don't want to think
You're
of
like, oh,
bonfire.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see where you're coming from, for sure. Oh, here we go, because this is the one that even Google didn't know how to pronounce. Um, so, with Samhain in the Middle Ages, the fire aspect of the feasts evolved over time, and smaller bonfires, known as, I'm just going to have to pronounce it, because this was the one I was telling you that Google thought I was trying to pronounce the word shenanigans. Smaller bonfires known as shamnagans came into tradition.
Some noggins.
I was like, if this is Gaelic, it's gonna sound nothing like.
Yeah.
Because, like, if it's Samhain is pronounced Sawin, and this is spelled Sam Ganagagans, then it's probably pronounced like Sawawawawawins. No, I'm just kidding. I do like Gaelic. I should not make fun of it that much. Anyway, but the cool part was like from this big fire, people would then go and like relight their own hearth fires in their homes. Because like this fire is now kind of blessed. Yeah, and it's like good luck for them to relight it from this big fire. And then yeah, that was to just help protect the family from fairies and witches and things. Every time, like, because you relighted your fire and all this stuff. Cool. And also, at this point, people started to carve turnips and things like that. Yeah. Turnips. And they would attach them to strings to a stick and embed them with coal. And then, as we'll get into later, yeah, it kind of led to the jack-o'-lantern, but pumpkins were not native to the region, and so that's kind of why they started out with turnips. They didn't have pumpkins.
Yeah, and then looking up my stuff, when you said, yeah, the turnip heads look so creepy, and I was like, what? And then I saw a picture of one. I was like, holy crap.
They do!
They're so
I don't know
creepy.
why.
It's because it looks like a face. It looks more face-like than pumpkins are that we see today.
That makes sense because pumpkins are super cylindrical, and so unless you've got someone with a super round head,
and like you're putting like triangle features and smiley faces and stuff on them, and then the turnips were like, it has a mouth slit and eye slits, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah, no, they're gross. But yeah, with pumpkins, unless you're like Stewie Griffin, who has like a watermelon shaped head from Family Guy, or someone else who's got a pumpkin shaped head, a cylindrical head like Carl Pilkington. That's just, I'm sorry for you. So other than that, it still has some weird history. I just have a bit about, like, also in Wales, men tossed burning wood at each other and played other rather violent games and lit fireworks and used noisemakers and things as part of their devilishness.
They threw
on Halloween night.
firewood at each other? Like wood that was on fire?
I guess, but that was all I got on that, so I really don't know.
Okay. It's like one way to play like hot potato.
Right?
It's like, here's a hot 2x4. Catch! Like.
I do have another weird tradition, though, that was more to do with the ladies. And that was a dumb supper, and it more had to do with a love ritual.
Okay.
I know. I did not know any of this until recently. But at some point, Halloween or Samhain or whatever was like associated with love rituals. I might get into this later, but like just people would do this at the different solstices of the year. They might do a little love ritual, and I was like, Okay, well that makes kind of sense, like throwing a bouquet after a wedding or whatever, and you try and
Mm.
figure out who's going to get married next. This is the kind of thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit. But the dumb supper, some refer to it as like just a supper to honor the dead. You know, maybe put out some food and say that like, oh, this person, you know, these people that died this year or whatever, we're going to talk about them. But the majority of what I read said that a dumb supper was actually like a love divining ritual. And so
Okay.
more like the bouquet thing. And it became very popular to perform these on Halloween or Samhain, and was even romanticized by poets such as Keats and Burns, who wrote of them. But the dumb supper was an elaborate ritual for young women who wanted to know who they would marry. So the dumb refers to silent, as in like struck dumb, or just the more old fashioned, meaning of the term, where people said if someone was dumb, it was because they really didn't speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it may actually have roots in an Old English love divination spell, but love spells are pretty ancient, as I've learned. So these suppers were often held in an empty house or even abandoned property. Don't recommend that. But one account of a dumb supper in Kentucky had two teens, and they prepared a supper backwards in every respect. The tables were set wrongly as possible, the chairs were turned backwards, and the meal was to be served dessert first.
Okay.
No, the main part is that neither one is to speak, lest the spell be broken. And then when all is done and complete, the spirits of the husbands to be, or I should say spouses to be, would appear in the room, or better yet, the actual person would show up at the door.
That's
So,
convenient.
yeah, that would be the
Here
best
I
possible
am.
scenario. Must be you then. But which one is he here for?
Yeah. Now you
Yeah,
duke it
let's
out.
fight.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth is here. You're going down!
You can have them.
Oh, God. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. Um,
I mean, he's good looking. He's just not my favorite.
no, it's funny because I'm not usually, huge for the blonde guys. But anyway,
Yeah. He's just too, like, has too much, like, muscle mass for me. It weirds me out.
okay, I can see kind of that side of it. I know that feeling where you're like someone's
Just
too
too
veiny.
much.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much.
Okay, so yeah, with the dumb supper, it meant like no one was to speak. The spell will be broken. In case the actual person showed up at the door afterwards, and this tradition trickled down to the Victorian era, showing up written about in American newspapers, and after that, Edwardian novels. But
Okay.
I know, I was like, what the hell does that mean? But Edwardian was after the Victorian era. That's all we need to know. King Edward, whatever. Okay. No. But should a coffin appear during this dumb supper, someone at the dinner was likely to die.
How would a coffin just suddenly show up?
I don't know. They figured the spirit of the person they might marry might show up, but also it might be a coffin.
You might fall in love, or you might die. Who
Isn't that
knows?
the way of the world? But sometimes a mother would encourage the young men of the house to crash these suppers at just the right time.
Oh,
Sometimes even through the window. Just,
God.
she sees you next. She's gonna have to marry you.
Yeah, she's not allowed to have opinions. The spirit said so.
Opinions.
And by that I
Women.
mean her new
Yeah.
husband's mother said so.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there is one that was like a bit of an urban legend. It was like an account from Missouri, quote unquote, where two young women set their table in a deserted house, and at the stroke of midnight, one saw a coffin which horrifyingly moved of its own volition to rest beside her. The other woman was probably happy to instead see a young man walk through the door at midnight, his apparition summoned by the ritual. The young man arrived holding a knife, which he dropped the moment he sat next to his future bride.
Was he there to stab her? What?
Well, she picked up the knife and put it in her pocket, and after the silent meal was over, the young man stood and left the room, as the coffin slid along beside him and followed him out the door. Soon, the young woman met the man and married him. One day, she showed him the knife. On seeing it, he flew into a rage and stabbed her in the throat and chest until she died.
What the heck? Okay, I did not see that coming.
'Twas an urban legend from what I read.
Okay.
A folk tale, if you will.
Honey, I have this knife. Ah! Like, what?
Either we're gonna have a quiet supper and I'm gonna see who I'm gonna marry or who's gonna kill me. Or something.
I'm gonna marry who's gonna kill me, and the coffin my friend saw was mine. No.
I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, if your friend asks you to divine their future husband or spouse, you gotta be a good friend. I don't know.
Those, playing the game MASH. And then...
Yeah, we used to do that.
Yeah.
MASH stood for, like, mansion, apartment, shack, or house.
Yeah.
You'd end up in one of those with whomever.
And, yeah, literally anybody. And
No,
then...
whoever was on your list of, like... It usually wasn't all guys you had a crush on. It was, like, maybe two, and then, like, two, like...
Losers.
Not so savory guys. Yeah, so that everybody could be like, ha, you married him.
And now you live in a shack.
Exactly. I feel like I have lived in a shack. I feel like, yep, you go through all those stages in your life. Now I live in a nice house.
Yeah.
But that I decorate like a shack. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like an adult. Pat buys art, and then I'm like, oh my god, I could be a person that buys art and curtains and things.
I could be a person that buys art.
Okay, literally, this guest room that I record in, like, really, it has some blinds in it, but it didn't have any actual curtains, so... I'm not that much of a redneck. Okay. Okay, so, speaking of soul suppers, in England and Scotland, women would also bake soul cakes. And soul cakes have origins that trace back to All Souls Day parades, some people think, where poor citizens would beg for food and receive soul cakes in return for their promise to pray for the family's dead relatives.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what happened. That could be the tradition, but it's also been linked to a Scottish tradition practiced in the Highlands where women would make a bannock or bread on Shrove Tuesday in order to eat it and dream of their future love's face. It's also been said that the dum could also come from the old meaning of doom, which was more fate or destiny. So, it's interesting. It's a quiet supper, and we're supposed to figure out who we're gonna marry from it, and we call it the dumb supper.
This supper's so dumb.
Don't you call my dinner party dumb, bitch?
I bet that's how it started. This is such a lame dinner. No, it's dumb.
I don't know. It's just me because I've read so many old-fashioned books from like, oh yeah, dumb. That means they don't talk, right? Okay. But eventually this practice was actually encouraged by the church, replacing older practices like leaving wine and food out for roaming spirits. But basically, a soul cake. Sorry, that's right. We're off dumb suckers. We're on soul cakes. I'm with it. So that basically was a cake that you baked in silence and then went to bed and hoped to dream of your spouse's face, your future spouse.
And hopefully not a coffin.
Hopefully not. And oh, don't forget to walk backwards to your bed after you bake the cake.
Okay.
I mean, we'll
Too
try.
much.
We'll try. Yeah, I don't care that much. It's gonna be someone. Back in the day, there was probably like 12 people in the village who it could be, so they were all about finding out who it was.
Okay, there's 8 boys and 9 girls.
I feel that. I grew up in a small city. Um, at one time, let me see here. At one time, it was done at any of the solstice festivals. So these love divination rituals were not only done on Halloween, they were kind of done in any of these festivals throughout the year, I guess. But when they baked this soul cake, it was particularly called a dreaming bread. And similar practices could involve hiding rings in cakes and even in mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
I know.
All right.
I have it a little bit later on, but same sort of. It's kind of to do with the love divination. Interesting, I know.
Honey, you like those mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes. Don't choke on that. I've heard of people hiding things in cakes and stuff, and I always just thought like, what if you choke? Like nowadays we're so cautious about everything. We're like, how could you do that? How could you drive without someone in a seatbelt? They are going to die. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even from the 80s, it's changed. Hang on. So, yeah. Soul cakes. Yeah, so this history all kind of bleeds into each other because there's, yeah, just so many things that evolved into like trick-or-treating and whatever, but one thing I had was that trick-or-treating is said to have been derived from ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain, or Halloween, and in Ireland, mumming was the practice of putting on costumes, going to door, and singing songs to the dead, and cakes were given as payment. So, more soul cakes, I guess.
Yeah.
And that sometimes with the Halloween pranks having a tradition, they were sometimes blamed on fairies. Oh gosh. So I just had a little bit kind of on All Saints Day, which we mentioned.
Oh, okay.
It was also interesting. I don't know. I had to stop myself, like I said to you earlier, from just writing down everything. Does anyone remember, speaking of All Saints Day, a band called All Saints? They were a girl band. They had a single called Never Ever. It was good. I liked them. Anyway.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, I wondered if it would for you, because I'm a few years older than you. I thought it might have just been like, it was before kind of even Britney Spears. You know, it was like Monica and Brandy, that kind of time. I don't know. Speaking of back in the day, on May 13th, 609 CE, or Common Era, so 609 Common Era, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian martyrs. So that's All Martyrs' Day, he called it. It became All Martyrs' Day, established in the Western Church. And then sometime later, Pope Gregory III expanded it to include all saints, not just all martyrs. And he moved the date to the November 1st. So that's how we got All Saints Day on November 1st.
And by the 9th century, Christianity had spread into the Celtic lands, where it blended with the Celtic traditions. It's widely believed that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic Fest of the Dead with a church-sanctioned, church family-friendly holiday. Not surprising.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sounds about right.
Right, I mean, no offense to any Christians, but, like, yeah, the Christian church has done some things and stuff like that, and so that doesn't surprise me. But All Saints' Day also featured the bonfires, some parades, and then dressing up as saints, angels, and devils. Then this celebration became known as All Hallows, from the Middle English, which might be after the Ye Old English, probably.
Ye old.
Then Middle, then New. Um, then Valley Girl English, then Gen Z. No, I don't know.
Then emojis, just emojis, and
Emoji.
then we're back to like Egyptian hieroglyphs.
It is. It's come full circle. I don't know how to pronounce this one, but it's from the Middle English All Hallow Mess, meaning All Saints' Day. So, All Hallow Mass, All Hallows. It's kind of all starting to go towards the Halloween word.
Or in my case, Halloween.
Halloween. It's like whenever someone says horror and it sounds like horror, and you're like, the what? The horror movie?
Yeah, I was watching in one of Bailey Sarian's newer videos. She did that. She's like for like 5 minutes straight. It was like horror, 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 and then she kept putting like a subtitle underneath, putting horror with the asterisks.
Oh my gosh.
She kept saying, "I'm not saying horror. I'm saying horror, horror."
No, so true. Same thing with the word mirror. Sometimes people are like mirror, and you're like, what? Okay. Okay, almost done. So the Celts thought this might be a fun fact because it might not fit in exactly in the notes where I put it. But the Celts thought that the spirits being nearer to us at this time of year made the Druids' predictions more accurate. But, yeah, I probably should have just included that when I was talking about, like, they held more trials then and
Yeah.
inaugurated kings and stuff. Yeah, they just were like, this is a good time to do some court business.
Judge Judy residing.
Well, remember when they were like, God will say if this, means I won this fight. They're like, oh, yeah, God's on his game at this time of year. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, that sounds rude. Okay, so as more Europeans emigrated from Europe to North America, traditions meshed with those of the indigenous peoples of North America. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, there's a back to this page. So, some of the first celebrations included what they called play parties, which was a party about bringing in the hay and, celebrating the harvest. It was similar to what they did before. So they would also share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes. They would dance and sing and tell ghost stories and engage in maybe still some mischief making.
Okay.
One of my final things here would be the history of trick-or-treating. So in the late 1800s, a movement came about to make Halloween more community-based or neighborly and less about ghost destruction and witchcraft.
Which I feel like it hasn't really moved away from.
Which I'm glad for.
Yeah.
It sounds like people were trying to quash it and make it so, I don't know what the word is.
Like commercial.
Tame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So parties for kids and adults alike became popular. Halloween parties, yeah. And parents were encouraged via the newspaper, early media, to take out anything too frightening from, say, their decorations or their costumes or whatever. So we've probably lost a lot of these cool traditions, but you're right. It's still a spooky holiday. We're taking it back.
There's still like there's still people dressing up scary. There's still fake blood. There's still haunted houses. People turning their houses into haunted houses. You know, it's still fun.
Some creepier than ever with the haunted houses.
Yeah.
Next year we could do those.
Oh God. I don't do good. I get so scared.
Oh no, we just talk about the ones though, like the crazy ones where you have to sign a waiver to go to them. Yeah.
Sure, I can talk about them. I just won't do them.
I know. Well, no, but you did Edmonton.
I know.
And I'm proud of you. I keep driving by it and it looks freaking huge. I drove by and saw some gargoyles today.
Like start to finish, I think we waited in line for probably 45 minutes to an hour. And it took almost half an hour to get through. And like half an hour of your heart like full on pounding and you be constantly terrified is a lot to go through.
Yeah, because even when you're watching a scary movie, it's like 1 or 2 minutes at a time, usually.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, unless it's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like a lot.
Hey guys, the show will be right back, but first I want to introduce you to a little promo from our friends over at Twisted and Uncorked. They are a podcast that are funny and informative, and they do a little fun fact every episode, and I think you guys would probably like them because they're a lot up your alley, because they're a lot like us. They do true crime, paranormal, the strange and unusual, all this sort of stuff, and bonus, they're 1/2 Canadian, so I think that's cool. They were kind enough to feature us also over on their show this week, and it was this week, yes. Check it out. It was a really good episode. It was the Halloween episode, and they covered some fun stuff that we didn't get to. So I think this works out as a really good companion to the episode that you are listening to now. So please enjoy a promo from Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello, Twisted Humans! Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. We're bringing the most intense stories that will keep you up at night.
Join us every Tuesday for a glass of wine and a dose of true crime. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Oh yeah, so as we were saying, they tried to quash the spooky out of the spooky season in the early 1900s and make the costumes and stuff a lot less frightening. So between the 1920s and the 1950s, the focus on Halloween went towards kind of the younger kids and keeping the kids out of trouble. And so trick-or-treating became a popular way to entertain the wee ones. And what I thought was kind of interesting was apparently in the 1930s and 40s, the kids got, because it just started, I would imagine, they got everything from cookies and cake pieces to fruits, nuts, and even small toys.
Oh.
Because, you know. And then by the 1950s, that's when the candy manufacturers got on board and were like, we're going to make some money. And they started marketing specifically Halloween candy.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine nowadays going trick-or-treating and trying to wrap up cake.
Yeah. I'd imagine you'd have to think people would be visiting like 10 houses or something at most in their village, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I guess
I don't know.
Maybe they can go home in between every house.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds so inconvenient to put in my pillowcase. What is that?
Here's a bowl of porridge.
Yeah.
And then I guess by the 1970s, that's really when, factory-made candy was the only acceptable treat. And that was also largely due to the stories or the urban legends of tampering with the candy, which we've all heard about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not going to get into it today, and we did it on Halloween Crimes, but for the most part, they're mostly urban legends, I find.
Yeah, there's one that was real. Yeah.
Not discounting that one exactly, but
Yeah.
yes, for the most part, strangers are not trying to poison your children.
No, and they're not going to be giving out weed gummies. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Oh
stuff
my God,
costs
that
too much
shit.
money. Okay?
Exactly.
They're
That
not
stuff makes me
giving you-
laugh.
They're not giving your children. They're not going to waste it on your 8-year-old. Okay.
No, weed gummies even CBD gummies cost, and they don't have any THC, that gets you high in them. Like, it all fucking costs. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Alright, so the last thing I have is on costumes. And costumes have European and Celtic roots back to when we believed that maybe the spirits roamed the earth and we were trying to disguise ourselves and blend in with the ghosts and the ghoulies.
Okay.
So yeah, it was more that we didn't want the spirits to think that we weren't one of them, so we'd put on masks and things. And then also tying back to the origins of the soul cakes and trick or treat, we would place food outside for the ghosts on the doorstep so they wouldn't come inside.
Yeah.
And other than that, there's, believe it or not, some love rituals that were performed in Halloween, but to be honest, that could almost be in another episode. I know people have done it as its own little, like, episode, because there was, like, a bunch of... Yeah! Like I said before, like, I think I mentioned, like, the way people throw a bouquet or whatever, they might just, like, they bake the soul cakes, trying to see who their future lover would be. Like, there's just some, like, weird little traditions and superstitions that went on. I did write down a couple of them. I just didn't know if I was going, like, yapping on too long, but
No.
it's interesting. I don't know. Halloween isn't usually thought of as a romantic holiday.
No.
Oh, I think I talked about, ring in the potatoes. Could be hidden in the potatoes rather than the soul cake.
Yeah.
18th century Ireland, a cook might hide the ring in the potatoes, bringing love to the finder. Or in Scotland, they had girls pick a hazelnut each, toss them into the fire, and depending on if it popped and crackled and exploded or not, and just burned quietly, you would have true love or not. And ironically, it seems to vary which means which, like, depending on where you're asking. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. She could also choose to find out by eating a dish made of hazelnuts, walnuts, and nutmeg. Something about those hazelnuts. I don't know. It must be very telling.
Yeah.
Of a relationship. But once she ate this dish, she might dream of her future love. And also people could peel an apple in one peeling, like in one go. And they toss the peel over their shoulder and see what the letter or initials was. That I had read about in the Outlander books, actually. And it was funny because they were like, or the person describing it was like, there was a lot of C's and G's just because of how circular an apple peel is.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, makes sense. And the last ones was you could look into egg yolks floating in a bowl of water, peer into these egg yolks, or you could stand in front of a mirror in a darkened room, looking over your shoulder and walking backwards from the mirror, looking back to see your future lover's face.
Or Bloody Mary.
More Bloody Mary, exactly.
Or a Candyman.
Or just... Oh, fuck yes. You're gonna marry Candyman. Or, lastly, just the first person to bob an apple out of that damn apple water that we friggin' do as a weird tradition where you put your hands behind your back and try and grab an apple out of the water with your teeth. Apparently that's the person that's gonna marry next, if they can bob an apple.
Because they have talent.
They sure do. Some head bobbing talent, and I don't know what we're gonna say about that. But that is my Halloween history and traditions for this year.
Very good. A+.
Oh, so much stuff. I just better
Yeah.
shut up because I could have just like kept finding things. I don't know. I'm excited though.
Yes, mine is... Mine has a lot more words I have to pronounce than yours.
Oh. Yeah. Oh my god, the one that I tried to look up the pronunciation though and it just said shenanigans. At this point, just throw in the towel. Whoops. I did hit my mic that time. Are we good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just throw in the towel. I can't pronounce something that's spelled like shenanigans and it's pronounced like Samhain or something.
Maybe it is pronounced shenanigans.
I know. It's all Irish, Scottish.
So, oh my god. Okay. I feel like this whole thing is gonna be, it's like 5 pages of tongue twisters.
Ooh. I was just gonna say Gaelic is like, we talk about English not making sense, and I love learning the different Gaelic words, but it really has a lot of letters that are silent and don't make fucking sense.
Yeah.
And shit.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, alright. If you say so.
So I started mine off with some monsters and like creatures, I guess, that are around during Samhain. So
That's cool. Because I don't feel like I can name any. Really?
Actually, one of them you've already covered in a previous episode, which I thought was kind of cool.
Ooh.
But yeah, I'll tell you which one it is when I get to it. So,
oh, okay, cool.
yeah. The Celts believed that there were, as you mentioned, the barriers between worlds, and in these barriers, some of them they believed were at the cave of Cruachan.
Ooh.
And the Onagat. That one just says it's the cave of cats.
Oh, weird though. Like
yeah.
a specific cave.
Yeah, 2 different ones. So it's 2 different
Oh.
locations. During Samhain, they believed that these barriers were able to be breached, and because of this, they left prepared food, like prepared offerings of food or drink, or even left crops like inside the ground waiting to be harvested outside the villages and fields for these creatures.
Oh.
So one of the main ones they believed in were fairies.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they do. Okay. I
So
believe that.
they said that they live in fairy forts. They also live in mounds or in hills.
Ooh, yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. And so some of the food and drink offerings may be left for the fairies. And people also took special care not to offend fairies and wanted to ward off any of the fairies who were out to cause mischief.
Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Watch out for those guys.
Yeah. So
yeah, not good.
they, when they were out at night during Samhain, they tended either to stay near home, or if they were forced to walk in the darkness, they turned their clothing inside out, or carried iron or even salt to keep the fairies away.
I've heard of the iron.
Yeah.
I mean, like in fiction stuff. So it's cool when you hear that it has some basis in truth or mythology at least. Yeah. So iron just fucks up those fairies. They just don't like it.
Yeah, iron or salt, I guess.
And salt. Love a good salt. You know, they do that in Supernatural a lot where they're like, what is it, salt and burn? Yep, can't go wrong.
Yep. So there's something called the fairy host. So it's sometimes depicted as a crowd of airborne spirits, and they're of the cursed, evil, or restless dead, and they're actually hunters who are out during Samhain, and they actually kidnap people. So not good fairies.
No,
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah.
Especially when all your kiddos are out. Ugh.
Yeah. Everybody's out.
Mm-hmm. Creepy.
So another one is just called the puka. So that's Irish for spirit. And
I may have heard tell of that one once. Ooh,
Yeah.
I like the name.
yeah, it was like when I looked up the pronunciation, it was like puka, and I'm like, oh sweet, like a puka shell necklace. I'll remember that.
Right.
So and it's actually probably one of the only words that looks like how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
It's Puca. Puka. It's great. I
Maybe
love
it was one of the only ones that wasn't influenced by like Gaelic that had to do with
Yeah.
Halloween.
So it's Irish for spirit. They were known for bringing either good or bad fortune to like the Celtic people.
Okay.
So they were told to be shape-shifting creatures who could appear as goats, cows, horses, hares, cats, dogs, and even people.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Some sort of animal that you wouldn't pay much attention to. It's
Yeah.
not like a poisonous snake or something. You're just
No.
like, oh, it's just a farm animal. You're innocuous and innocent. Yeah.
So if they did appear as a person, it said that they always kept some sort of animal feature. So they'd be like appearing as a person, but they'd have an animal's like ears or even a tail.
Weird. Interesting.
So yeah, they're not great though, because they were known to wander off with children, and never came back, and they often harassed weary travelers.
That's a point against them.
Yeah.
If I was on the dating site, I would swipe left or whatever.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So during Samhain, households left out offerings of like food and drink for puka, but when they left these out, they left them at like the edge of the village because they didn't even want to invite them into the village.
Wow. That's really far away.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There's another creature called the Lady Gwyn. Not much is said about her. I tried looking her up multiple times, but she's said to be an evil and vindictive headless woman who's dressed in all white.
Okay.
She pretends to be a lost soul, and she chases men who are out at night with her tailless black pig.
Oh.
Yeah, so she has a black pig and it has no tail. And
Aww.
yeah,
Sorry.
right?
Well, that sounds adorable.
Right?
Okay.
But like her and the pig chase men at night, I guess. That's all I have on her. I tried looking her up more and that's all I could get.
Right. Most people don't survive the encounter with her and the pig, I guess.
Yeah,
She's
must
like,
be.
There's no men to live that tell the tale.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Because big pigs, man, they're fucking huge. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about potbelly pigs, and I dreamed of having a potbelly pig, like, younger, because I love pigs.
So did my best friend growing up, and then she found out there was no such thing as like the little pigs.
I think that's it. I don't know why
Yeah.
it was advertised as like a pot-bellied pig, when of course they're gonna grow to
Yeah.
at least hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And
And
so
that
did the
ain't
one that,
cute.
No.
Sorry.
well, it's delicious.
Most of them
though.
ain't cute. Yeah. It's delicious, but it ain't cute.
Which is why I couldn't have one as a pet and then eat it. But my mom was working at the historical reenactment settlement of King's Landing. It's like, there was lots of pigs there. And I remember one year it was like, well, where's Jingles, that big black-haired 700-pound pig? And it's like, what are you eating? No, that's Jingles. You're like, oh no!
You ate them for breakfast.
Yeah, that's interesting. You don't usually feel it like that these days. It's usually a little bit more removed.
Yeah. He's prepackaged in the grocery store.
That's right. You don't know the name of this pig.
Yeah, he's $9.75 per pound or something.
I'm traumatized by jingles.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Mother. Okay, sorry. She listens. Anyway.
So do you want to try and guess the one that you covered? I'll give you a hint. It was covered in our episode 19. You covered it in the cryptids that are connect as fuck.
There was one that was like black birds.
You're right. Oh my god, I can't believe you got it.
I can't believe you got it. No, I can't believe I got it either. I'm like, maybe this one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was the slough. Or the
Well,
slaw.
that kind of makes sense because we learned that black birds and birds can be quite a death omen.
Yeah.
Like as far back as our first episode, callback.
Yeah. Double callback.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You taught us that.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
as you said, they're flying souls of the unforgiven dead who come from the west, and they enter houses and steal souls.
Not great.
Yeah, so I chose not to cover more on that because we've already covered it. So if you want to learn more about them, episode 19, cryptids that are Canuck as fuck, you can listen to that.
That is a great callback slash
I know.
promo.
I was going through and I was like, oh, Alana already talked about this one. It's perfect.
So, are they saying that it is kind of connected to Halloween then? Like, it's not just
Yeah,
any
they're.
time a year?
I think they're out probably during Samhain, like as well.
Yeah, I
maybe
think
not
that makes
like
sense.
exclusively, but
Right. It's just like we've talked about a lot of things are like
Overlapping.
more active. Yeah.
so the next one might be one of the most famous creatures, I'd say, of Samhain, and that's the Dullahan. Or
Oh, that sounds familiar.
yeah. So they sometimes appear as impish creatures. I don't even know what that means.
Right. To me, it always makes me think that they're going to be like knee high or smaller.
Yeah.
You're impish.
But that's not what this one is at all, so that makes me confused.
Because, like, Loki, you'd be like, Loki wouldn't be impish. He's just a trickster. Straight up.
Oh, I should say too, this is copied word for word from
Okay.
the irishplace.com.
Ooh.
So,
I didn't go on that website.
yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. So it says the Dullahan sometimes appear as impish creatures, headless men on horses who carried their heads, and think headless horsemen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
That's where I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually at my
Ew.
parents' watching it was Halloween Wars, and they were making extravagant cakes, and they were told they had to make cakes based on like a myth or something surrounding Halloween, and the one group made the Dullahan, and they kept saying it until I saw their cake and realized it was the Headless Horseman. I was like, oh, what? And then when I started researching this episode, I was like, the Dullahan is the Headless Horseman. I was like, it all makes sense. So,
I love that. It gives you a feeling of being like, well, I'm educated in that one thing now.
yeah. Right?
At least. Interesting. I've not seen that episode that you're talking about, but I'm like,
Yeah.
good for them.
So
For
the Dullahan's appearance is considered to be a death omen. So many death omens that never even showed up during the first episode.
No, clearly we covered everything in the first episode and we were perfect in it and we didn't do anything wrong.
Right. So the Dullahan is most well known for its headless appearance, and there are many stories that suggest how he lost his head.
Ooh.
One of which being that he was a soldier in his previous life and he had his head taken from him in battle.
Okay.
His
Lopped right off.
Yeah, just whoop.
And he just kept on going.
His roaming has been depicted as him searching for his lost head for all of eternity. However, some stories suggest that he already has his head and that he rides with a darker purpose, believing to be so bitter about his own death that he searches for other souls to take with him to the afterlife.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a man. No. But he's bitter. He's taking those souls. I see it.
So he is commonly portrayed as either riding on the back of a black horse with flame eyes, and I feel like that's probably the most common.
Right.
But it's also said that sometimes the horse is also headless, which I don't think I've ever seen. And
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I don't think I have either, but there was one meme somebody posted that I liked that was headless horseman, horseless headman, headless headman. It was I will show you.
Okay.
I cannot describe it any better. It was every variation of minus head, minus horse body. I was like, what?
Well, when you post about this episode on Instagram, you should include that meme then, and then I'll see it.
Okay. Oh, I did tell. Yeah, our first one is up, and it shows Father Gary Thomas rocking his purple stole.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, for this episode. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, I need to go to bed.
It's not even your bedtime yet. It's mine.
I know. I was thinking about the one that came out today, which was Exorcisms.
Yeah. No, this
think
one
I
that we're
told-
currently recording.
I know. It's like, have I made it obvious that like I get so confused. I can record on a Friday, but I'm not at my best.
So the Dullahan, so the horse is sometimes also headless, or
God.
it's sometimes depicted as riding, like the Dullahan is riding a black carriage that is pulled by 6 black horses. I don't think I've ever seen that one either.
Ugh, why not? There's
That
so
would be
many
cool.
creepy horse people.
Yeah. So it is said that these horses ride so quickly and ferociously. Yeah, that's what it said. Ferociously. Okay.
Ew.
I would say like furiously would probably be better. That fire emanates from both their nostrils and their hooves as they strike the ground.
I have heard.
Yeah.
About like heat coming out of the nostrils, and I thought that sounds like, first you see an image and you're like, why is that horse glowing from the nostrils?
That's some
And then you're
crazy nostrils.
Exactly. But it's like, okay, it may have had to do with something else. You're like, okay, it makes total sense. Supernatural phenomenon. All right, horse glowing from horse headlights, done.
The original headlights. Horse
You're
nostrils.
all in. Yeah.
So the carriage that some believe he rides is made of coffins, tombstones, and bones,
No way.
indicating his evil intent to take innocent lives. He wears a long black cloak that flows behind him as he rides through the lands, and he is known to hold his severed head high into the sky in search for the souls that he wishes to take.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Is
this
he filming a
website.
music video when he does?
Yeah, the irishplace.com. This website was so dramatic in their descriptions. I was like, I'm just gonna copy this.
I don't know why, but I thought, like a rhinestone cowboy. Like, why did that come in my head?
I have no idea.
Oh my god, no one does. No.
So his severed head apparently has a terrible appearance. It's covered, I'd assume so, It's covered in rotting flesh that gives off the strong odor of rotting cheese and the complexion of stale dough.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's gross.
The mouth
I love cheese and I love bread, but
Yes.
stale dough, that's
and rotting cheese.
Yeah.
The mouth is split into a terrifying grin as he finds joy in taking the lives of others. His eyes,
great.
his eyes are lit up with an evil fire and are darting back and forth, constantly looking for victims.
No, thank you. Gross.
No locked gate stays closed when he approaches, bursting open to let the Doulahan through. So dramatic. I love it. As he makes his way through towns and villages after dark, the people hide behind their curtains because if anyone were to look at him, they would be immediately blinded.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's a real threat.
Yeah. That's like some, like, Medusa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn to stone.
like, you guys aren't listening? By the way, you will turn to stone.
Yeah. Look me in the eyes. Look me in the eye when you talk to me. Yeah, they'll be immediately blinded. This he causes by whipping their eyes out with a whip made from a human spine.
Oh, sure.
Or by throwing a basin of blood into their eyes.
Oh my god. Actually, that one sounds preferable, but ugh!
On the cooking show I watched, they did give him the little whip made out of the human spine, and I did not know what that was about until I did my research.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was like, why is he holding a spine? And then... yeah.
I heard of one supernatural creature that had a spine, but it was not suitable for television. Oh my god, gross.
So he has the ability to speak only once in a journey, and that is to say the name of the person whose life he wishes to take.
No.
Once the Doulahan states this name, that person's soul is called to death, and there is no defying this call. The Doulahan does this when he stops, and it is then that he will call the name of the victim, and that person will die. That part kind of repeats.
I mean, could he just not say the name?
Right? That's not my name.
Hard.
That's not my name.
What's up, buddy? No.
The Doulahan is believed to appear after sunset on certain festivals and feast days, which is when people know to be wary of looking outside after the sun has gone down, because they don't want to look at him. The only thing that can frighten him is precious metal, which when thrown on the ground before him can cause him and his horses to suddenly stop in their path and turn to flee.
Oh, wow.
I think they did
That's
that
handy.
in the TV show I used to watch, Sleepy Hollow. It had, like, the Headless Horseman was, like, the main villain of the show, and Ichabod Crane was the one that had decapitated him, and he had been a soldier in battle, and they did the whole metal in his path thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it as a TV show.
It was pretty good. I mean, it was just funny to watch, like, Ichabod Crane, who was super, super old, like, have Post-it notes explaining how to use a coffee maker. Like, and, like, what a TV was.
Oh, God!
Yeah, so that kind of stuff was funny.
You're like, well, we got a lot of explaining to do. There's this thing called a computer.
Yeah. And they solved crimes. Because of course
Oh
they
my
did.
God.
It was a procedural crime drama.
Of course.
So, during the period when the story of the Doulahan was most popular in Ireland, families were likely to possess gold. As such, they were told to use their gold to frighten him if he called upon their house.
Oh my god. Okay.
This depiction of the Headless Horseman is believed to have developed as the embodiment, this is really weird, as the embodiment of the ancient Celt god of fertility, Crumdove.
Oh, okay.
Nothing
Quick
says
sec. They're just gonna have the god of fertility take over this god of mischief or whatever.
No, so it's the god of fertility, and he somehow evolved into the headless horseman who murders people.
Oh god.
Yeah. Don't know how
You
that...
can say it to me now, but you're gonna ask me tomorrow and I'll be like, I don't remember what the hell you're talking about. That makes no sense! No.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, so apparently he's the embodiment of the Celtic god of fertility, Crumdove.
Okay.
King Tigermas? I couldn't find a pronunciation on that at all. The King of Ireland long ago, in an era when human sacrifice to the gods was developed to be a popular ritual, worshipped Crumdove. Crumdove demanded human lives every year to be sacrificed in his name, and the method of sacrifice that he asked for was decapitation.
Oh,
so, yeah, that could be a little bit of the tie-in, I guess.
Well, he was serious.
Yeah.
For sure they're evil and like cut off their heads just to be extra sure. You're like, okay.
In the 6th century, when Christianity came to Ireland, these sacrificial rituals were condemned, and as Christianity grew in popularity, they stopped altogether. This was when the story of the Dullahan first became prevalent, as the Irish people believed that Crumdove took this physical form in order to continue getting the sacrificial souls that he called for. Dun, dun, dun.
He just do what he want.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So, apparently the god of fertility is just out there murdering people because he didn't get enough sacrifices anymore.
Murder.
There's no more volunteers.
He's like, I give up.
Yeah. So my next part, and this was like in the same thing about creatures. So this is Stingy Jack. And I know you ran across him when you were doing your research.
I also love the name.
Right.
Stingy fucking Jack. Yeah.
And I didn't know anything
great.
about it before.
No.
But there's a bunch of versions of this story. But this one I copied as it was written from the specifipedia.com.
Oh.
I think it's supposed to be like specific Wikipedia. I don't know. There's so many offshoots of Wikipedia now.
Okay, yeah.
This is Specifipedia. So, and this is their version that they had listed. It says, Jack lived in an ancient Irish town, and everybody knew him to be a manipulating drunkard with a silver tongue.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
Eventually, Satan himself overheard tales of Jack's evil deeds, and feeling incredulous and envious, went to see if they were true. Ooh. One evening, the devil found Jack drunk, wandering down a lonely road. Realizing it was the end, Jack asked Satan if he could have a few drinks before going to hell. The devil said, sure, why not, and took him to a pub where he drank his fill. When the bill arrived, Jack asked Satan to pay the tab by metamorphosing.
Oh, yeah. Turning into? No.
Yeah. Why couldn't you just put turning into? Metamorphosing into a silver coin.
Shit.
Yeah.
Who can do that?
Well, he's
That's
Satan.
handy.
Satan can. Impressed by the audacity of the request and perhaps a little bit tipsy, Satan did as he was asked. He got Satan drunk. Clever Jack took
He
the
got Satan schmammered. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Clever Jack took the silver and placed it in his pocket, which also happened to contain a crucifix. This trapped the devil in coin form, and to be restored, he had to promise to leave Jack's soul alone for a decade.
What the hell?
Yeah.
How does he fall for that shit? I mean, good job.
Well, he's stuck in the pocket. I mean, what's he gonna do? Live in Jack's pocket
Yeah.
for fucking ever?
True. Once he's in there, yeah, he's done for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, 10 years later, Jack and Satan met much the same way as they did before, and Jack again bowed to the inevitable. Time to go to Hades. But first, could he have an apple to feed his starving belly? Satan agreed,
Sorry.
climbing a nearby tree to fetch one for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Quick as a flash, Jack carved a cross into the trunk. Now thoroughly hacked off, Satan demanded his freedom. Jack said sure, if he swore to never take him to hell. With no other way down, the devil agreed.
Oh my god. Honestly, he just tricks the devil like it's no big deal.
Yeah. When Jack finally succumbed to his alcoholism years later, he ascended to heaven and attempted to enter through the gates of St. Peter.
Oh.
Unsurprisingly, he was denied admission. He then ventured down to Hades and begged Satan to let him in. True to his word, the devil refused. Because he swore to never take him into hell.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
So the devil refused. He turned him away, but not before tossing him a spare ember to mark his status as a denizen of the netherworld.
Okay.
Until forever, Stingy Jack is doomed to roam the realm between good and evil with nothing but Satan's ember, which he placed in a hollowed-out turnip to eliminate his path.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I like that.
To keep Jack and his other disgruntled spirits away on Samhain, it's usually a good idea to carve out a turnip or pumpkin, illuminate it with a candle, and place it on your window to scare them away.
Wow. I love it when it just like ties back to modern day and you're like,
Yeah.
that's why you do this today.
Yeah.
That's
I know
so
there was
crazy.
I think when my parents were younger, they were like telling me there was this whole thing about like on Halloween night you're supposed to keep checking on like your pumpkin to make sure it doesn't go out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a whole thing.
Oh, I'd never heard that. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So I'd say that one's kind of a myth of like Samhain, but it wasn't with the myths, it was with like the creatures and monsters.
Oh, okay, yeah. There was
Yeah.
a couple different sections. Mhm.
Yeah. So for the myths, this kind of goes through what you talked about a little bit. So Irish mythology was originally a spoken tradition, but much of it was eventually written down in the Middle Ages by Christian monks. Irish mythology says that Samhain was one of the 4 seasonal festivals of the year, and literature says peace would be declared, and there were great gatherings where they held meetings, feasted, drank alcohol, and held contests. Some
I
gatherings...
just love the alcohol and contest part every
Yeah.
time. It's just, you guys know how to have a good time. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Some gatherings were hosted by the High King of Ireland, during which new laws and duties were ordained. Anyone who
Okay.
broke the laws established during this time would be banished.
Oh, okay.
And these gatherings were very popular settings for early Irish tales.
Oh, yeah. They were like, well, while we're at it, we're steeped in folklore and
Yeah.
traditions. Yeah, no, that's interesting. They're like, it's held in this belief or what. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm really, really the bad right now and tired. Oh my god.
That's good, because mine are really short.
I'm like, if what I said doesn't make sense, pretend I'm on acid. No.
So both of this, like, tales or, like, legends or myths I decided to cover, I have them kind of, like, short. These are summaries I found.
Okay.
I think these were both just from Wikipedia. Yeah. Yeah, they were just from... They could have either been from Wikipedia or history.com.
Oh man, history.com was a big help to me in this episode. I found so many different, like, it was a couple different pages that had so many different sublinks, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. So for these, they're really long actually, but these are kind of like a summarized version. So I do recommend reading the long versions, but it's going to be like pages long. So the first one I couldn't get a pronunciation of, but in English it's The Adventure of Nera.
Okay. Interesting.
So King Alil of Connacht sets his retinue a test of bravery on Samhain night. He offers a prize to whoever can make it to a gallows and tie a band around a hanged man's ankle.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense when you like read the thing.
Yeah, that sounds like interesting. I don't know. It sounds like the kind of story I like.
Yeah. Each challenger is thwarted by demons and ends up running back to the king's hall in fear. However, Nera like volunteers and ends up going and succeeds, and then when he gets there, the dead man that he like ties the band around asks for a drink. So Nera carries him on his back, and they stop at like 3 houses, and it's a little bit of like Goldilocks. So I think the first house, I can't remember what was wrong with it. The second house was surrounded by water, and then the third house they go to is good. So they enter the third house, and this is where the dead man takes his drink, but with a mouthful of water, he spits it on the people that live in the house and kills them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Returning, Nera sees a fairy host that is burning the king's hall and has slaughtered everybody inside.
Oh my god.
So that was like the swarm of fairies, is the fairy host. So he follows the host through a portal into the other world, has quite a few adventures. Nera learns that what he saw in the vision of the hall burning was only a vision, and that it'll happen next Samhain unless something is done.
Oh.
And the tale essentially ends with him returning to the hall and being able to warn the king, which prevents it from his vision from ever happening in the first place.
That's interesting, because then that could potentially change time.
Yeah,
The way it
there's a
was the
whole thing
first
about
time
like
around.
him having like a separate family on the other side, and it got kind of complicated. I read through it and didn't quite make sense. This version makes a bit more sense to me. The overview
cuts out all the relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Now that makes sense to me.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I've never heard, and me, I'm a virgin to any of this story.
Yeah.
I've never heard any of it. It makes sense to me the way you told it, though.
Yeah, it was like I like the
Yeah.
recap better.
Oh yeah.
So the next one is called the Cattle Raid of Cooley.
Ooh.
This one's got a lot more names. Okay. The invasion of Ulster is the main battle that begins on Samhain. So Cuckoo Lane is left to single-handedly defend the kingdom of Alid against the forces of the kingdom of Connachta.
Holy, yeah, you weren't kidding.
According to the story, oh my god, this is where my reference thing makes no sense. Okay. According to the story, he kills the Connachta people 10 at a time and by the 100, and finally challenges the Connachta to send out their best champion for single combat.
Okay.
He's
killed, like, the other person's killed hundreds of him, and he's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send out my best warrior. Okay.
Yeah, so their best champion was Ferdiad, a wonderful young man who was fostered with Cuckoo Lane. Right, that's what I said. Cuckoo Lane. Was fostered with Cuckoo Lane as a child and had even trained with Ku in Skacha School of Martial Arts. That one I missed in looking up.
Oh, wow.
In
just a school for martial arts, though.
Yeah. In other words, most of their lives, since the time they were babies, Ferdiad and Cuckoo Lane had been pretty much like raised as brothers.
Okay.
So now they're like trying to battle against each other. So the only problem, of course, they're now hereditary enemies. The Alid and the Connachta have been fighting each other for centuries, despite the entreaties of the Connachta and the Queen Madeb. Ferdiad.
You're good.
Ferdiad repeatedly refuses to fight his foster brother Ku. Unfortunately,
Okay.
So they refuse to fight. Unfortunately, in the end, he is pressured and tricked into doing so. So Ferdiad and Ku meet on the field of battle for 3 days. Every day they slice flesh and bone off each other.
Oh my god. Ew.
Yeah. And every night they try to heal each other's wounds and fall asleep next to each other, mourning what the next day will bring.
Okay, weird relationship.
Yeah. Finally, on the last day, Cuckoo Lane uses the Gobbalog. Yeah, that's what I put. Gobbalog. Gobbalog.
Nailed it.
A monstrous many-pointed spear to kill Ferdiad. Ferdiad dies in Ku's arms, overwhelmed with grief, weeping as if his heart would break. Ku refuses to leave the body of his foster brother even as the army advances to kill him. At last, Loiga, Ku's charioteer, drags Ku away just in time. And that's like how the story ends, with him being dragged away from like the scene of the battle and his foster brother's body.
Oh my god. If not, he would have been killed, right?
Yeah.
Shit. That's intense. That
Yeah.
was intense.
I'm like, yeah, that one's pretty good. I don't think I read like a longer version of that one. There's a lot that like was going on with different battles. It was hard to keep track of them, but yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Man.
So, according to later Dean Scene and the Annals of the Four Masters, which were written by Christian monks, Samhain in ancient Ireland was associated with a god or idol called Crumcruga.
What? Okay.
Yeah. The text claimed that a firstborn child would be sacrificed to the stone idol of Crumcruga. In Moslet, Moslek.
Weird.
They say that King Tigernmas, they say that King Tigernmas and 3/4 of his people died while worshipping Kromkrua, and that was only on one of the Samhain, like, festivals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, him and 3/4 of his people. So, that's not great.
Nope.
Yeah. My
Scary.
last little bit is actually there's been like a couple, they're called bog bodies. I don't know if you ever heard of this.
It almost sounds familiar, but I don't think I know anything.
Yeah, so academics argue that during Samhain, the myths, because they recall of like so many human sacrifices and stuff that were requested,
Okay.
that several bodies found in bogs, so like peat moss bogs and stuff,
Right.
such as the old Krogan man, appear actually to be kings, who were actually like ritually killed and sacrificed, and some of them they believe were sacrificed during like Samhain festivals or around that time.
Ew.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
That's
ones,
super pagan and like old fashioned, hey?
yeah.
Like,
There's,
you almost just think that I don't know. I don't know when they stopped it, but you think that none of this goes on today.
yeah. There's like a couple specific ones. One they only even just found in like 2014.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. But they're kind of interesting. It essentially just looks like they're just pretty much mummified.
Mm-hmm.
But the old Krogan man is kind of creepy because he is actually just the preserved like torso of a man. So he has a full set of arms that are sticking out almost like, I'd say maybe like if somebody was like standing like Superman when you got like your like fists on your hips and you're like standing like that with your arms
Oh, yeah.
out. So imagine that, except it's just from halfway, like the bottom of your rib cage to your neck, and then just your arms. That's what was found. So the old Krogan man is pretty much just the chest of a man and a set of fully preserved arms.
Okay.
Yeah. It was found in 2003, and it's believed to be approximately 2,000 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's believed
That's
to be
old.
like a king. They say based on
Holy
like the
shit.
markings and the armband he had on and everything that they like took off of him and then preserved and then like reattached. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy though? Like anyone would never know a king just to find it in a unless it
bog.
was like giant tomb, like really elaborate, like king is here. No, but like seriously, that's crazy.
Well, it seemed
Wow.
like from what I read that they weren't happy with him as a king and he didn't want to be sacrificed and they pretty much forced him
Oh dear.
to be their sacrifice because his body was kind of like mutilated from what they could see before he was like essentially chopped in half multiple times.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's
Not
what
so friendly. Okay,
No.
okay. Maybe I was thinking it was just like much less sinister.
no, they weren't happy with this king. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But so that's what I had for Halloween, but I encourage anybody to go read like the full stories of the adventure of Nira and the cattle raid of Cooley, because they're pretty cool. There's a lot to them.
Wow.
I read them
Sounds
about like
it.
6 times each and got so confused every time. I was like, nope.
It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I had a lot of fun researching this one and
Yeah.
recording it. Wow. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I could be just, ready to fall asleep or whatever. Not because you're reporting, but because
Yeah.
we're recording.
Yeah.
And this one I'm like, holy shit, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Definitely definitely have to come back to Halloween and everything next year. You can
Oh my gosh.
do more
yes.
stuff about it.
I just sometimes forget how much I like lore and legends. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Awesome job.
Thanks, you too. What's
Yay.
next
This-
week? I don't
know. Is this our last? Hang on.
Yeah, this is the last regular Halloween one.
Happy October.
Yeah. Our next one, I guess after this, if you join Patreon, is gonna be about the Warren family and cases and stuff like that. So that one should be pretty
they're
fun.
very interesting. I'm excited for that. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then regular episodes, what's after this? Oh my god, didn't we just decide that the other day?
Yes.
I'm like,
Hang
I
on.
barely remember.
That
It's
kinda
been
did
so
it.
long ago.
I know. I was gonna say bump it up, didn't I make us pick one? Because it was like, what are we recording after this?
It's been 150 years. Killer couples. That's
Oh
what
my
we're
god,
doing.
thank you.
Killer
You found it a lot
couples.
quicker. Yes. Hello. After this, we are giving you some killer couples.
Yeah. Oh, and maybe if there's a bunch of cases, I just thought of this. Maybe if there's a bunch of cases, we might have to revisit it on Valentine's. And we have an episode coming up on Valentine's.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm scrolling through my calendar to February. We can do February 11th or the 18th. Unfortunately, the 14th is a Monday. Boo.
Ooh, 18th. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks you guys for sticking with us. Thanks, you guys. But, well, we're happy. Every time I get to a holiday episode, even, it's like a milestone. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we've been doing this for a few weeks, and like, when you start a podcast, you just don't know if it's actually gonna last, right? You
Yeah.
just don't. You gotta work at it. So, also, we'd like to thank you guys for staying with us.
Mhm.
Yeah. Appreciate every review and like and subscribe and all that, and
Yeah.
fucking scare you next time.
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of cycle has two wheels? Bye.
Oh my god. That was terrible. Bye. A tricycle.
I know. I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, what did we say? We'll catch you next time for
Killer couples.
Killer couples.
Yeah.
Happy spooky season.
Yes. Because
We'll
this comes
catch
out
you.
on the 29th, right? Yeah. So
It's true.
have a good COVID-safe Halloween. Mhm.
All right. Love you guys. Catch you next time.
Bye. This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.